blue shirt. Yeah.
네, 이준석 전 대표님
네.
강연 잘 들었습니다.
네.
저는 축소 사회에 관해서 얘기하고 싶은데요. 축소 사회에서 얘기할 때 보통 생산 인구 감소로 인한 한국 경제 규모의 축소가 주요 중점 사안이었던 것 같은데, 저는 그 인구 감소로 인한 그 다양성, 한국 사회 다양성의 감소에도 되게 중대한 사안이라고 좀 생각이 듭니다. 예를 들어서 국회 앞으로 들어가실 건데, 국회에서도 300명의 각각 다양한 관심사와 다양한 그 목소리를 가진 사람들이 모여서 그 사회를 발전시키기 위해서 이렇게 모이는데, 만약에 인구가 감소되면 각자 다양한 관심사를 가진 사람들이 줄어들고, 그러면은 뭔가 한국 사회 발전도 조금 더 지체되거나 지연될 수 있겠다라는 생각이 들었습니다. 그래서 정리하자면 인구 감소, 그 축소 사회가 불러일으킬 뭔가 한국 사회 다양성 감소를 뭔가 정치에 계신 분들이 뭔가 이야기를 꺼내고 있는지, 또 이준석 전 대표님의 의견도 궁금합니다.
He's asked questions about the shrinking society in Korea. If the birth rate goes down and population goes down, then wouldn't that mean decreasing the diversity of Korean population? And I totally agree, and I'm really worried about that, because I mean, by diversity in our Congress or in our parliament, I mean, well, none of you here actually could be running for an NPC. That means a decrease in diversity, because I mean, not too many people now try to become a politician, nor try to work for the public in general. So, which means that we're going to see less and less diversity within the field of politics, and which means that politics means change, and we can think of less change in the future. And well, I sense like the decrease in the level of diversity among the SNU students has also been on the media for a while, and it could be a problem. And well, I gotta say, I don't have like a clear resolution to this problem, but I think diversity is really important value we must face. And the thing here is, so I'm trying to alleviate the situation. So I told the media yesterday saying that the Reform Party, in preparation for the upcoming regional provincial election, is going to try to bring more and more younger generation into politics and bring more and more women into politics. We came up with those ideas, and we'll announce the details. But I believe, because I started to work as an MP for Dongtan region, and I sense that in Dongtan region there are so many married women with abilities who gave up their careers, and I kind of think that, well, these women, they received good education and they are of age 30s and older, and they, when their kids go to middle school or so, then they would have chance to have their own time. And if they want to go back to their career, it would be a tough thing for them. But if they choose to participate in politics, that would mean that it will be a positive change for the diversity of the Korean politics sphere. And our party is definitely going in that direction for the upcoming regional election. So we're going to try to impose a system for nominating our candidates where the women and the younger generations are not at a disadvantage. Because in current political system of Korea, when women and the younger generation run for candidacy, it's really hard then for them to win the candidacy, because I mean, to become a candidate in Korean parties, you have to spend a lot of time drinking till very late time in the evening, because in order for you to collect party members to vote for you, it means that you're going to have to make personal connections with the party members. And of course, you know, in Korea that means drinking a lot. See, those kind of the odd things that we should remove from Korean politics. And so we are trying to come up with a solution So we're going to be holding a debate competition. We're going to be having another, like, say, policy challenges and all those kind of things to remove the barriers for younger generation and the women who are trying to be in politics. So those are the things that we are going to do for to diversify participants of the Korean politics. But I know these ideas are not final nor mature, but yeah, you can always help me find the solution because I'm really thinking it's a problem for the whole Korean society. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the lecture. Contrary to its name, the Reform Party does not seem to have proposed any special reform program in the last election. Also, you are mentioned as the future president, like the three presidents who were your Harvard alumni. I am curious as to whether you have a series of reform programs such as Theodore Roosevelt's Square Deal, Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, and Kennedy's New Frontier. And if so, what is the direction?
So I am not actually running for presidency right now, so I haven't come up with the serious ideas for such a level of reform that you mentioned. But I do believe that the Reform Party is definitely. I always say that I want the Reform Party to be the bravest party among the parties because I told you, say, we should really think about. I mean, always Korean people. I told you about the two factions. Korean people always looked at one, economic prosperity, or two, democratization. Those were the two criteria that people were looking at. But I would have to mention that after like 6 decades of this republic, that we have accumulated homework that we have to do. Say, namely, so we're going to make reforms in social sector. Say, so let's mention our divorce laws. Say in Korea, it is very hard to divorce. You know that's why, because in the 50s and 60s, when they were making these laws, under the Confucianist system, that Korean men were likely to dump their family and just move on to a new marriage without giving enough economic ways to support the family for the remaining members of the family. So the law made it really hard for Korean men to divorce without, consent from the woman. But now things have changed. If you look at the law case between the SK chairman, Mr. Choi Tae-won, and Ms. No So-young, so we all sense that things have to change because they were virtually out of marriage for, say, 10 years, and yet they failed to divorce. And this Mr. Choi Tae-won is actually virtually married to another woman. It's been like that for 10 years. And we have to come up with a new law to deal with these kinds of situations. And those kinds of reforms were never put on the table by other parties, but the Reform Party during the last election mentioned those kind of things. And at the same time, someone mentioned conscription for women also. Those kind of things are brave thing for a new party to mention, but we are willing to make those kind of ideas. And I'll say, well, we'll come up with those, but not to that extent you mentioned, say, like the New Deal program or any kind of like thing, but at this moment. But when I run for presidency, then I'll definitely come up with those kind of big reform ideas. But now we are dealing with the accumulative homeworks that we should have done. And within the 3 or 4 years, we will be laying out these things to the public, gradually, Okay, the lady in front,
Thank you for taking your time to do this, and Professor Lee as well. I especially enjoyed your take on South Korea and basically how they approach the US in terms of diplomacy, which leads me to my question. During Trump's presidency, we've seen a very hardcore, like, America First approach, and how, I guess, the effect it has had in our alliance, especially in terms of defense cost sharing and Trump's own affinity with Kim Jong-un. There is a strong chance he is going to be re-elected this year, and there are a lot of people who believe that these things will once again be under the microscope. Given your own beliefs, what would you advise for this administration on how to, I guess, approach a Trump-like personality? And my second question is, did you personally like Yoon's rendition of American Pie?
I mean, the whole question comes down to you can do anything, but what did we get in return? And Korean public, especially the younger generations, are not thinking that we did get anything in return. But definitely, if Trump takes his place, then I think it's the second term of his presidency, so he will be a little different from his first term in saying that, in the first term, he, as you mentioned, he thought he could be friends with Kim Jong-un, and they were going along well, but it didn't have any actual result that came out of it. So I believe a clever person like Trump would come up with some different manners in terms of dealing with North Korea, but that's my expectation. But so, regarding the SMA and the defense cost issue, I mean, it would be very apparent that Trump would push on for more and more burden on Korea. But I heard the numbers saying maybe he would ask for double the current numbers or the triple the current numbers. But if Trump really wants that, then we would have to come up with something to compensate that to appease the Korean public. I would say, as I mentioned, it namely could be gaining or earning our right to make our own nuclear-propelled submarine or reprocess our fuels, because reprocessing our fuel means that we can resolve one of the key environmental issue in Korea with the nuclear waste issue. And those kind of barter, if we can make, then I think the Korean public would understand doubling or tripling our burden on the SMA agreement. But if not so, then people are going to ask Mr. Yoon, saying like, "Oh, you did it again." So it's really up to President Yoon to understand Donald Trump. I think doubling or tripling our defense cost could be something that Trump cannot really pull back on. So in that case, we should really ask for something else, and I think that is the nuclear's reprocessing issue, waste reprocessing issue, or adopting our nuclear-propelled submarine. Because I saw in the newspaper article last week saying that our defense minister Shin Won-sik proposed that we participate in the Pillar 2 of the AUKUS system, and Pillar 1 is the nuclear submarine thing, and if we extend our participation to Pillar 1, that would be a thing that could appease the Korean public enough to accept the doubling cost. Yeah, so it's really up to Yoon, but up to now, Yoon has never shown such a delicate manner in diplomacy. He would always mention that we have to be brave enough to give everything to them first. So yeah, if you remember him saying that we should fill up the glass, half the glass first to Japan, so that they can fill the other half, and see what happened with the neighbor line issue. So I mean, Yoon is not learning from these matters. So I mean, but I hope him to be better, as a Korean citizen. Yeah. 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 The gentleman. Yeah. Wearing the sweater. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your lecture so far. I'm currently a student at the Graduate School of International Studies here, and I'm from the United States, so I am an outsider to Korean politics. And I am trying to learn, which is why I took the chance to come here and listen to you speak. Now, from an outsider's perspective, as I'm trying to understand Korean politics, the impression I get of your position and kind of your career trajectory is that you are a very divisive figure, particularly when it comes to gender issues. Now, I don't want to take any opinion on that strongly. I would just like to ask you, what is your vision, or how do you envision reconciling a lot of the problems that Korea may have when it comes to gender? Because you talk about undeniable future, but it seems like a lot of the policies and the politics in Korea seem to portray this future that's denying women. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so there was a slide where it had all these charts, and that slide was about division between people. Say, the older generation here in Korea so much into the regional divide between the Gyeongsang province and the Jeolla province. It's a historical thing, and people in the 40s and 50s, they're so much into division among the economic classes, and people in the 20s and 30s are so much into this gender divide. That's what the numbers were showing, and I'll just have to say that I know the claim against me is saying that I'm such a divisive figure in terms of gender related issue, and I wanted to mention that when I was in college in between 2003 and 2007, back in the States, and that was a time when all these gender-related debates were going on in the States, and these minority issues and all those stuff. But I sense that in Korea, these things come in a cycle that is 10 years slower than the US. So I sense that recently in Korea, among the social issues, one of the biggest issues was about political correctness, the language we use. And I remember those kind of debates and those kind of issues were big in the US when Mr. Obama was in his office. So it comes in as some delay in Korea. So, and in Korea, when we talk about this gender divide, and when I get the claim that I'm one of the people who is worsening the situation, then I would ask them, say, can you point out a sentence that I said that should actually widen the gap between the gender? And they couldn't come up with any, because I think, from my point of view, I think that I'm getting those remarks because Korean people are not used to these kind of social issues in debate. Because I mean, whenever we mention conscripting women to the military, they perceive it as something that favors men. But I think otherwise. I come up with that idea because it's an inevitable thing that we are running out of people to fill our military. It comes from a different origin, but people view it as, people think that I said those things just to appease men. It's a real different approach, but I think we should be brave enough to come up with this issue, because we cannot be intimidated by those remarks saying that you're dividing the gender gap here, or you're widening the gender gap here, because this imminent threats regarding, like, say, military issues and are more important to us. So I think Korean people are getting used to these kind of social debates, and comparing these ideas to how it was dealt like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, is getting better in terms of people understanding these issues. So I think it's going to get better. The thing here is that there are so many issues that Korea has never touched on, say like the sexual minority issues, and say all these philosophical issues were never dealt in Korea. So I really look forward to it. At the same time, I'm really worried about it, because we have so little experience in it. So whenever I say something related to gender, some people would point to me and say, "You just made a hate speech," and I would say, "Do you even know how serious that means?" You know, like in the U.S., my experience is that when someone says you're making a hate speech, that's a really serious accusation that you're making. But in Korea, you say that with no responsibility here in Korea. So here's the thing that we have to improve on here, saying that, because I mean, Korea has really little experience with these kind of discussions. So I'm really waiting for this things to change. But I'll be brave enough to carry out these kind of discussions. Yeah. So things. Yeah.